So good morning, guys. I am Rose Marigan, and I am here to discuss the law enforcement area, specifically the laity or the comparative police system. So first, um, isa-isahin natin si comparative police and then si system. Then, by pag natapos na natin i-define yun and explain each i-define naman natin at sa point is what is police system. So first, what is comparative? Comparative is using or introducing comparison. So, sinasabi lang dito, in simplest term, we are using something sa object man to, idea man to, or introducing comparison or nag-introduce tayo bagay, um, things, idea, and subject matter natin, which is the policy, we are using or introducing other policy to compare to our policy or the police our policy dito sa ating country, which is the Philippines. Dito, we are not only talking to one policy, it can be two, three, or more policy na pwede i-compare sa policy natin para ma-enhance or ma-improve natin yung policy or current policy na ina-apply natin dito sa ating country. So, sa way ng pagko-compare natin dito, it has many advantages and isa dito is when other countries policy apply this specific policy na hindi naging effective sa kanila. And then, why not mag-experiment tayo dito sa Philippines ng same policy mas apply natin dito. Then, di ba hindi siya effective sa country na pinag-compare natin. Tapos, nalaman natin na effective sa atin. Experiment siya, ganun. Hindi siya effective doon, then naging effective sa atin. Which is maganda, maganda yung maging outcome or meron din namang yung mga effective sa kanila then hindi effective sa atin. Malalaman natin, ma-prevent natin yun, yung policy na yun. And then, meron din namang mga policy na naging effective sa kanila, then in-apply natin, or yun, in-apply natin, then naging effective, which is good. So, marami siyang malawak siya, broad siya pag nagko-compare tayo. Pwede natin ikuha yung mga good and bad side dun sa policy, which is okay naman. Then, sa comparative, let's proceed to police. Police, a department of government responsible for preservation of public order, protection of crime, and law and enforcement of law. So, in layman's term, or kahit ako dati, pag sinabing police, ang inisip ko is yung individual or yung personal itself. But no, the police is part of the government, is a department na nag-enforce daw ng law and nagme-maintain ng peace and order and nagde-detect of crime and nag-a-arrest, yun. Yung mga yung mga police na personnel is part lang po siya ng police department. So, next is, si police, broad din siya. And then, basta yung main focus nila is yung tatlong nabanggit, preservation of public order, detection of crime, and law enforcement. Enforcement of law. Then next, the system, an orderly, interconnected, complex arrangements of parts, a method of organization, administration, or procedure. When we say system daw, um, interconnected sila. So, kailangan all parts are working together or they communicate together. Kasi pag may isang parts, pag may isang parts sa kanila hindi nag-work well or hindi nakipag-work together sa is mag-feel or hindi successful yung kung ano man yung objective nila. Yun lang. Yes. Then, next, tapos na tayo sa police, ay sa comparative, sa police, and then sa system. So, pag-isahin natin siya. Let's define what is comparative police system. The theories and practices in law enforcement have been prepared in several studies under diverse circumstances. The goal is to test whether the theory and practice policy means innovation to meet the demands, the present trends in crime fighting. So, like sa previous na sinabi ko, si comparative police system is we are comparing theories and practices ng other countries' policy to enhance the or to innovate our current policy and the current policy, most especially in our times ngayon na um, more on technology. So we need or our policy need innovation in the policy. As we compare our own police system with other models, we would be able to gain insights into how to deal with transnational crimes or borderless crimes. Besides, best practices may be adopted from other police models in order to make policy in the Philippines more current and effective. So, when we are comparing those, um, it is this advantage kasi makaka-gain tayo ng ideas na effective sa country na yun to fight these specific crimes like transnational crimes. Pag sinabi natin transnational crimes, it is passing through borders from one country. Um, yes, ganon. So, to fight that kind of crime, syempre, kailangan natin ng other policy, yeah, other countries policy kung paano nila na-fight yung ganong crime para ma-apply natin and alam natin kung paano natin lalabanan yung ganong klase ng crime or paano natin i-prevent or i-detect or i-detect yung ganong klase ng crime. Sa next slide is the two methods of comparative police system. First is Safari method, and second one is the collaborative method. First, what is Safari method? A researcher visits another country. Basic lang, definition itself. Pag sinabi natin Safari method, si researcher is pupunta sa country na gusto niyang pag-compare ng policy. Example, um, ako gusto kong i-compare yung policy or gusto kong makakuha ng policy system na Canada. Lilipad ako or pupunta, visit ako sa policy na yun para alamin or i-study yung policy nila. Tapos, then, second one is the collaborative method. The researcher communicates with the foreign researcher. So, eto naman si collaborative, hindi niya needed na pumunta or mag-visit sa other country. Pwede lang makipag-communicate siya sa researcher na gusto ng country na gusto niyang i-compare na policy. For example, ako as a researcher, gusto kong malaman yung policy ng sabihin natin Switzerland. So, makikipag-communicate ako sa researcher na living residence and living proof na policy na nandun sa Switzerland, ganun lang. And so next, gets na ba yung two methods? Easy lang naman siya, basic lang para sa inyo guys. So next, the globalization. Is a package of transnational flows of people, production, investment, information, ideas, and authority. Is the growing interpenetration of states, markets, communication, and ideas. So, in simplest terms, si globalization is yung idea na um, nagtatransgress yung mga products, yung mga people, yung information and ideas and authorities from this specific countries to other countries. Then, meron yung other idea na globalization na nag-change yung isang bagay into modern idea. Like, dati, di ba, when we transport or, I mean, when we buy things or products, hindi siya pera. Hindi pera yung binabayad natin. Binabayad nila before is product din. Tapos na modernize na, naging pera, physical na pera, then, naging ginto, then, next naging pera, then, ngayon, pwede na, naging cheque na, diba? Pwede na cheque, then next, pwede na, money transfer, GCash, bank, ganon yung globalization, nagbabago, nagiging modern na yung mga bagay-bagay, which is, kung i-connect natin siya sa crime, nag-modernize na din yung mga crime and then mga criminals. Mga criminals na kaya kailangan natin, yung policy natin is ma-modernize na din o mag-globalize na din. Kasi, kung mag-stick tayo sa sa classic or mga pansing na hindi naman kayang i-prevent or i-detect yung mga modern crimes, walang mangyayari. Hindi natin hindi natin magbibigay ng peaceful society yung country natin. Dito sa Pilipinas, hindi tayo mag-modernize ng mga policy or eh, in-advise ng mga policy. Then, next, um, eto, hindi ko na, yung title, which is the types of law system. The first is the common law, are also known as Anglo-American justice and exist in most English-speaking countries of the world, such as US, England, Australia, and New Zealand. They are distinguished by a strong adversarial system where lawyers interpret and judges are bound preceded. Common law system are distinctive in significantly attached to precedent, the importance of previous deciding case. They primarily rely upon oral system of evidence in which the public trial is the main focal point. So, sobrang haba ng um, definition. I-sim de-define natin siya ng um, mas maintindihan. So, 'pag sinabi natin first pala yung precedent, sinabi natin precedent, yun yung mga jurisprudence. 'Pag sinabi natin jurisprudence, it is the previously decided cases. Um, for eto, ang other term pala ng common na system, ang lalabas ng board is the Anglo-American justice. Bakit? Kasi mostly gumagamit ng ganitong law system is yung mga American countries or yung mga English speaking. So, madali na lang pag sinabi natin common law, um, ang other term, Anglo-American justice kasi mga mostly um, English speaking. English speaking countries yung adapt ng ganitong system. They are distinguished by strong adversarial system. Adversarial system. Later on, na mali ako ng paggawa ng PPT. So, mas i-define ko siya later on what is adversarial system. Pero for this subject matter, common law system, where lawyers, interprets, and judges are bound precedent. So, dito, pag sinabi natin kasing adversarial is mas powerful yung law kesa yes, mas powerful yung law and yung duty lang ni lawyer and yung ni judges is mag-interpret lang ng law na nakalagay sa book um, na hindi sila nag-input ng um, personal opinion nila. Dapat ano lang sila, naka, guide nila yung law sa pag, sa pagbibigay ng, example, judgment, judgment. And they primarily rely upon oral system of evidence. So, yun nga, hindi sila nag-rely upon their personal opinion, dapat nag-rely sa batas and then sa mga evidence na represent ng example ng defense lawyer or di kaya ng prosecutor. Um, Winaway ng judge yun, hindi pwedeng i-input niya yung personal judgment niya nang wala namang reference na nakalagay dun sa law. Then, next, ito yung contrary naman ng common law system. The civil law system, or the also known as continental justice or Romano-Germanic justice and practice throughout most European countries as well as elsewhere, in places such as Sweden, Germany, France, and Japan. They are distinguished by strong inquisitorial system where less rights granted to the accused and the written law is taken as gospel and, and subject to legal interpretation. So, contrary siya sa common law system. Kasi dito sa civil law system or the continental justice or Romano-Germanic justice is mas ina-adapt nila yung inquisitorial, which is contrary din dun sa adversarial. Kasi adversarial is more on nag nagbe-base siya sa law and si Judge is hindi siya nag-give or nag-i-input ng personal personal judgment. Dito naman sa inquisitorial system, mas powerful si Judge, hindi yung batas. Dito naman pwede niyang input yung personal judgment niya kung paano niya i-weigh yung situation. And dito, last right daw yung granted sa accused, which is sa adversarial is merong rights si accused. And also pala, dito sa Philippines, ina-apply natin yung common law system. Dito daw sa civil law, mostly sa mga European countries siya na-apply. I know, sa Japan. Yeah, basta ang other term niya is continental justice or Romano-Germanic justice and strong inquisitorial. Then for the next for the next law system is meron pa pala. For the Germanic system are founded on basis of natural law, which is a respect of tradition and custom. The sovereigns or leaders of civil law system are considered above the law, as opposed to the common law notion that nobody is above the law. Yun nga, contradicting yung dalawa kasi si common law daw is ang paniniwala nila is nobody is above the law. So si judge nga hindi siya pwede mag-input ng personal judgment niya kasi hindi siya mas mataas sa batas. Si batas ang dapat susundin. While sa civil law system, the person or the judge is above the law. So, siya yung nasusunod kung ano man magiging final judgment niya. Yan yung masusunod. Wala siyang, kahit walang reference ng law, basta yun yung nagiging judgment niya, yun yung magiging, yun yung susundin. Then, the third system is the socialist system, are as Marxist Leninist justice and exists in many places, such as Africa and Asia, where there had been a communist revolution or the remnants of one. They are distinguished by procedures designed to rehabilitate or retain people into fulfilling their responsibilities to the state. It is the ultimate exorcism of positive law designed to move the state forward toward the perfect perfectivity of state and mankind. So sa socialist system, nakafocus siya sa social or the society, which is nag-give siya ng nag-give siya ng instruction sa society na dapat ito sundin, ito gawin para um, needed na i-fulfill ng individual or yung mga people or people na nakatira sa isang state na to kasi responsibility nila yun and ayun is na nakalagay yun sa batas na kailangan nilang sundin and hindi naman siya for the state lang, it is for the good of all na ang gusto lang naman dito sa social system is magiging okay or magiging perfect yung state and magiging okay yung state and if okay yung state magiging okay din yung society and down to yung mga tao, yung mga people magiging okay kasi okay yung system okay yung pamamalakad. Yung fourth one is Islamic system are also known as Muslim or Arabic justice and derive all their procedure and practices from interpretation of the Quran. So mostly practice ito sa mga Muslim or Arabic justice. Now, which is yung law nila is hindi kagaya sa batas natin. Ang law nila is yung nakalagay sa kanilang holy book or the Quran. Islamic system is general are characterized by absence of positive law, the use of law to move societies forward towards some progressive future, and are based more on concepts of natural law. Crimes are considered acts of injustice that conflict with tradition. Religion plays an important role in Islamic system. So for this system is nakaka-focus siya sa religion and also hindi siya modernized. Ano siya, sunod nila yung natural justice na pag nakagawa ka ng, against the book of Quran is crime na yon. Yun yung basis nila sa Islamic justice. Next, eto na sa court system of the world it has two types yung kanina sa common law. Ito sa common law, which is the adversarial, where the accused is innocent until proven guilty. The U.S. adversarial system is unique in the world. No other nation, not even the UK, places as much emphasis upon determination of factual guilt in the courtroom as the US does. So for the adversarial, the accused is viewed as innocent until proven guilty. So mag-work na kailangan gawin si lawyer dito. Kasi kailangan niya i-prove yung innocence nung yung nung accused. And also, si judge, marami siyang responsibilities dito kasi kailangan niya i-determine yung mga presented evidence is nagpo-prove ba ng innocence or ng guilt ng accused. So, dito mas ine-emphasize nila law, yung law sa I mean, ine-emphasize nila dito yung law. And for the inquisitorial naman, it is where the accused is guilty until proven innocent or mitigated. So, sinisingil nila dito na or bineview nila yung accused is um, guilty agad. Then, yung trabaho naman ng lawyer is to prove the innocent. Kabaligtaran dun sa adversarial, because adversarial innocence until proven guilty. Dito, guilty until proven innocent. So, pagka huli pa lang or pagka-detect pa lang, guilty na siya. And then, upon presenting evidence, doon na kailangan i-prove na innocent siya. If di ma-prove na innocent, that means guilty siya. Outside the US, most trials are concerned with legal guilt, where everyone knows the offender did. And the purpose is to get the offender to apologize, own up to responsibility, argue for mercy, or suggest an appropriate sentence for themselves. So, kaya pala ganito yung idea. Kasi, yung purpose nito is for the offender to know his action, to apologize to the victim, to own up his or her responsibilities sa crime na nakomit niya, and to argue for mercy or manghingi ng tawad. And siya mismo yung magsasuggest ng appropriate sentence para sa sarili niya. Which is weird kasi 'di ba mostly wala namang criminal na nag-own up ng na ginagawa nila or na-commit nila. Yes, and so pag in-apply natin siya here in the Philippines, hindi siya effective kasi kung gano'n, kung apply natin 'tong inquisitoria, eh di wala nang taong kukulong kasi ay hindi na fair yung magiging makukuhang justice ng victim kung sarili niya lang yung magde-decide kung ano man yung magiging penalty niya or magiging sentence niya or punishment. So, no. Kaya, for the next, these are the types of society. First is the folk communal society. Has little codification of law, no specialization among police, and system of punishment that just let things go for a while without attention until things become too much, and then harsh barbaric punishment is resorted to. Classic example include the early Roman Gentiles after time and Middle Eastern tribes and foreign settlements in North America. For the communal system, um, little lang yung emphasis nila sa batas, and wala masyadong work dito yung police. Nagbibigay lang sila 'pag nakagawa ng crime is hindi naman gano'n kalala, hinahayaan lang nila which is hindi hindi siya good, 'di ba? Kasi, um, yes, hindi gano'n kalala yung crime na commit pero ang mindset ng kriminal na nakagawa nun ay hindi naman malala. So, uulit-ulitin niya yun kahit sabihin natin nagnanakaw lang ng ₱100. Ulit-ulitin niya yun, ₱100 ng ₱100. Kahit ba maliit na bagay, maliit na crime yun, dapat binibigyan pa yan ng ng action. So, pero back to the subject tayo. Pag sinabing yun nga, for communal society, inaano lang nila, hinayaan lang nila yung bagay ay crime na nakumit na na nakumit, then after at pag till it becomes too much, yung in-apply naman nilang punishment dito is harsh and barbaric punishment. Kasi natin barbaric, di ba, is um, life and death to. So, yes. Basta yun lang yung tatandaan natin pag sa common man. Kasi, um, tawag dito, in-apply siya, ah, sabihin na lang natin folk. Pag sinabi natin folk, luma, gano'n, luma. Eh, 'di ba dati um, yung na-apply na punishment, I mean, action sa mga nakakagawa ng crime is barbaric. Ganun lang yung for the next society is the urban society has civil law, some standard and custom are written down. Specialized police forces, some for religion offenses or other enforcing the police law. And punishment is inconsistent, sometimes harsh and sometimes lenient. Most of the continental Europe developed along this path. When we say urban society, meron ng yung mga standard and custom is naka-write na or meron ng sabi nating ano nakasulat na or um tawag dito, yun nakasulat na siya na dapat sundin. Tapos dito naman is na-develop na rin yung police forces. Tapos mostly for enforcing the police law. And para nung sa punishment, di ba kanina sa communal society is harsh and barbaric. For this naman is punishment is inconsistent, sometimes harsh and sometimes lenient. For their punishment naman minsan daw is harsh, minsan naman lenient. Pag sabi natin lenient is paano ba? Parang bibibihin ka lang sa pagbibigay ng punishment, ganyan, or hindi. Ano ba? Light yung punishment na ibibigay sa'yo. O minsan naman harsh. Yun. Yun yung idea ng urban society. For the next is the urban industrialist society. Not only has codified laws, statutes that prohibit but laws that prescribe good behavior. Police become specialized in how to handle property crimes and system of punishment in run on market principles of creating incentives and incentives England and the US followed this positive legal path. When you say urban industrial society, um, hindi lang, ay, may law na dito dun, may batas na naka sulat or na-develop, and dito naman is, um, meron din silang law para mag-command or mag-instruct lang sa mga nasasakupan niya ng mga actions, or I mean ay mga activities na um, nagpe-prescribe ng good behavior ng ng people. And dito naman is police become specialized in how to handle crimes. Pag dito daw na-develop naman or na-discover naman nila is how to handle property crimes. Alam naman natin what is property crimes. And this system of punishment in run on market principle of creating incentive and disincentive. So, sa pagkakaintindi ko, system yung pag sa society na to is naka-develop sila or nakaisip sila ng idea ng incentive and disincentive. So, pagkakaintindi ko lang is pag incentive, magbibigay sila ng pabuya. Pag disincentive naman, ito naman yung magiging punishment sa criminal. And for the last, I mean, for the next society is the bureaucratic society, has a system of law along with armies of lawyers. Police who tend to keep busy handling political crimes and terrorism, and a system of punishment characterized by overcriminalization and overcrowding. So dito, meron ng system of law, which is mm, meron ng armies of lawyers. Dito is yung police is busy na sila, di ba kanina sa communal, walang masyadong work si police kasi hinahayaan niya lang na yung mga ay hinahayaan nila. Then second is the urban society. Meron ng specialized police forces, pero hindi ganun nagwo-work kasi nga. Minsan, hinahayaan lang, I mean, hindi ganun hindi kasi nagbibigay sila ng punishment na inconsistent. So, hindi masyadong nagwo-work si police. So, then the third one is the urban industrialist is may police system din, tapos pero mostly hinahandle niya is property crimes. So for this bureaucratic is hinahandle naman mostly is the political and terrorism. Political crime and terrorism. Yun lang yung tatandaan natin pag bureaucratic. Parang yun, meron namang kung ano yung mga emphasis niya na idea. For the next is the theories of comparative policy. First, the alertness to crime theory. postulated that as the nation develops, people alertness to crime is heightened. They report more crimes to police and demand the police to become more effective in solving crimes. For this theory naman is um, if people or if the community is magiging alert sa crime and then i-report nila immediately to the police, mas mape-prevent yung mga mape-prevent natin yung crime if may communication between the society and the police. And pag nag-report daw sila, nagdadaman sila sa police na magiging effective sila sa work nila or sa responsibilities nila na pag-prevent and pag-solve ng crime problems. And for the next theory, madali lang naman siya i-gets din pag alertness to crime. So, alert ka sa crime. Aware ka sa crime, gano'n. For the second theory is the economic or migration theory. Asserts that crime is the assert that crime everywhere is unrestrained migration and overpopulation in urban areas such as ghettos and slums. For this theory naman is naniniwala sila na yung crime is result of the unrestrained migration or yung um, pagdami ng population sa mga urban areas. Sinabi natin urban areas like ghettos and slums. Sa mga most, I mean, simplest term is mga squatter areas na yun, pag yun mostly daw doon, pag overpopulated na doon, doon daw nagkakaroon ng or yan, nagkakaroon ng crimes sa mga ganong places. I mean, sa ganong idea na dumadami sa mga ganong lugar. Then third is the opportunity theory, is that along with higher standard of living, victims become more careless of their belongings and opportunities for, for committing crime multiply. So for this theory naman is yung victim, yung naging victim is yung victim is nagiging careless na sila sa mga things nila, sa mga situation, sa mga bagay nila, yun, sa things nila, nabibigyan ng opportunity yung criminal or the situational criminal para i-commit nila yung crime na yun. Kasi andyan na eh. Example, yung bag mo or yung bahay mo naka-open lang. Tapos may opportunistic na criminal. Tapos, syempre, opportunistic or situational criminal. Tapos, wala siyang makain, ganun. Then, naka-open yung bahay mo. Tapos, walang any tao dun sa sala. Papasok yun. So, nagiging careless yung victim. Kaya sila nagiging victim. Or, kaya nagkakaroon ng mga opportunistic criminal. For the fourth is the demographic tree. It's based on event when a greater number of children are being born. As this booms grow up, delinquent subcultures develop out of the adolescent identity crisis. Pag sinabi natin demographic tree daw is naniniwas na sa greater number of children are being born. Naniniwas na nanganganak and then pag lumaki lumaki na yung baby na yun, and siyempre magiging curious yung bata na yun, dumating na naging adolescent siya. Tapos nagkaroon siya ng identity crisis. Tapos, syempre nakaka-interact siya with other, same age man niya or hindi. And then, made-develop, example, naka-interact siya sa mga delinquent na, I mean, delinquent teenager or adolescents. Puwedeng makuha niya yun through interaction lang or magkakaroon ng subcultures. Pag sinabi natin ibang subcultures is from, di ba, may culture tayo, then sabi natin subculture against dun sa culture na um, hmm, against dun sa culture na kung ano talaga yung good behavior na dapat sundin or ginagawa. Subculture naman, yun yung contrary dun sa culture. Gets? Then fifth one, the deprivation theory holds that progress comes along with rising expectations. People at the bottom develop unrealistic expectations while people at the top don't see themselves rising fast enough. So dito sa deprivation, masyado na nagiging ang theory na to, greedy yung greedy na idea. Kasi yung mga people daw na nasa baba is gusto nila, syempre, ikaw na tao na nasa bottom line, gusto mo syempre tumaas. Pero yung ginagawa mo na way or strategy is um, illegal or illegitimate. And also, hindi lang siya hindi lang siya naka-focus sa mga nasa bottom line na mga tao. Na-apply din siya sa mga nasa taas or yung mga mayayaman na greedy na masyado na kahit nasa taas nila gustong-gusto naman nilang tumaas, hindi nila nakikita yung self nila na nasa ano ka na nasa top. Gusto pa nilang tumaas tapos mostly 'di ba yung mga corrupt kasi nasa top na sila tapos gusto pa rin nilang tumaas. So, nagko-commit din sila ng mga illegitimate or illegal na act like corruption nga, di ba? Yung mga ganung tao. For the for the next is the modernization theory. Since the problem of society become too complex. For this theory naman, since biniview nila yung crime is a problem na because nagmo-modernize na yung society natin. So, ganun lang siya kasimple na dahil sa modernization, kaya nagkakaroon ng crime. Kasi mas madali nang gumawa ng crime, 'di ba, sa time ngayon or sa present present technology, 'di ba, dahil sa technology. Kaya parang ang dali-dali na lang mag-commit ng crime ngayon kahit nakaupo ka lang, gamit mo lang cellphone mo, laptop mo. Kaya-kaya mo na mag-commit ng crime. Unlike before na kailangan mong gumawa ng action, lalabas ka ng bahay mo, and then may gagawin kang act, physical act talaga dito, pwede na nakaupo ka lang, makakomit ka na ng crime. Then, 7 is the theory of anomy and synonymy. Pag sinabi natin anomy is no. Pag sinabi lang nating suggest that progressive lifestyles of norms results in this disintegration of older norms that once held people together. Kung sinabi nating is against the norms. Pag synonym naman is um, pro siya sa norms or di ba, hindi, wala siyang, wala siyang norms, wala siyang norms na sinusunod or yes, walang norms na na-create. Pag sinabi ng sinungi is merong norms. Ganun lang yung theory na yun. Because dahil walang norms, so kahit anong gawin nila, di ba? Kasi pag sinabi tayong norms, mostly is good behavior lang. Wala nga silang norms. So, mostly, ang mag-comment nila is mga puro bad behavior. So, yun nga. So, next. So, mag-jump naman tayo sa Interpol. Interpol or the International Criminal Police Organization or the ICPO it is famously known as telegraphical as the Interpol. So far, it is the world's largest international police organization with a total of 195 members of the countries as of 2022. Pero ngayon, 196 member countries na po siya. So, tinatawag siyang Interpol. It is the largest police organization in the world. Then, hindi siya, hindi siya talaga Interpol. I mean, ang, ang talaga, ang tama talaga is International Criminal Police Organization or the ICPO. Yun yung tatandaan natin, hindi siya international police, hindi ganon. Yun yung parang right term or right name talaga ng Interpol, ICPO. It is primarily facilities cross-borders police cooperation and support and assist all organizations, authorities, and service whose mission is to prevent or combat international crime. So for this Interpol daw is nagkakaroon ng communication yung mga member countries, mga member countries para magkakaroon sila ng cooperation para ma-prevent yung mga international crimes. So, mas malalaman natin mamaya kung ano yung mga bagay-bagay na yun. Kung ano mga kino-coordinate nila sa mga member countries. Next, Interpol is not a police force. It is the machinery of international criminal police cooperation and communication. These principles on which Interpol functioning is based have stood the best time. It has become clear that the organization cannot have teams or detectives with supernatural powers who travel around investigating cases in different countries. So, misinterpretation daw sa Interpol, hindi siya police force. It is a organization which yung all police department sa mga member countries is nagko-cooperate and nag-coordinate and nagko-communicate para mag-change or mag-exchange ng information. Interpol activities are driven by member countries within a clear framework of governing bodies. Ito yung organizational structure ng Interpol. First is the General Assembly. Next is the Executive Committee, General Secretariat, National Central Bureaus, Advisors, the Commission of the Control of Interpol Files. So, isa-isahin natin yung mga to na nasa organizational structure ng Interpol. So, first is, ito yung structure, si Interpol, then nasa taas, yung pinakamataas sa kanya, which is the General Assembly. Next is the General Secretariat. Tapos sa gilid, sa kanan is the National Central Bureau's advisor sa baba. So, mas ma-deep dive natin siya mamaya. Mas maintindihan natin yung mga functions ng mga parts na to. First is the General Assembly. The General Assembly is composed of delegates appointed by the government of member countries. As Interpol supreme governing body, it meets once a year and it takes all the major decisions affecting general policy, the resources needed for international cooperation, working methods, finances, and programs of activity. It also elects the organization executive committee. So, si General Secretariat, siya yung pinakamataas sa lahat ng mga anong tawag dito, ng mga basta yun yung mga secretariat, advisors, siya yung pinakamataas. Siya yung nagkakaroon ng decision, siya yung magawa ng policy, ng ganito. Pero bago to, um, nakakompose si General Secretariat sa pag-a-appoint ng mga all member countries, mag-meeting sila. O ito, yung mga member ng General Assembly, si gantong person, gantong ganyan. So, appointed siya, hindi siya in favor lang sa isang country. Lahat ng country magde-decide, magkakaroon ng decision, magkakaroon ng majority kung sino yung magiging member ng General Assembly. Kasi, major yung responsibility and may function ng General Assembly kasi siya ngayon gumagawa ng policy. Siya yung gumagawa ng mga decisions. Siya yung gumagawa ng decisions. Tapos, si General Assembly is nag-meet lang sila annual or once a year. Then, yung isa pang responsibility nila, sila yung nag-elect ng executive committee. Di ba kanina mayroon dun sa organizational structure ito sa executive committee. So, yes, si General Assembly yung nag-elect dun sa mga member ng executive committee. So, gets na ba dito sa General Assembly? Basta siya yung nagkakaroon ng naggagawa ng mga decisions, ganun, sa Interpol, sa organization. Next is the executive committee. This 13-member committee is elected by the General Assembly. So, that 13 members daw ang bumubuo ng executive committee na to na in-elect General Assembly and comprises the President, the Vice President, and 9 delegates. The executive committee in Interpol select the deliberative organ which meets 3 times a year, usually in March, July, and immediately before the General Assembly. So, dito, di ba may 13 members? Tapos, meron doon ang naging head or nagiging head sa kanila is the president. Tapos meron siyang three secretaries. So, four na ay vice president. Then, nine delegates, a total of 13. So, si executive clemency naman is, executive committee naman is, di ba kanina si General Assembly is nag-meet lang siya annually or once a year. Ito naman is three times a year, which is in March, July. Tapos yung pangatlo is mag-meet sila dapat before na meeting ng I mean, appointed meeting ng General Assembly. So, kahit hindi siya fix kung kailan mag, magkakaroon ng meeting yung General Assembly. Dapat prior to that meeting ng General Assembly is makakapag-meeting na si Executive Committee. In accordance with Article 15 of their constitution, the committee has 13 members comprising the president. Yun niya. They are not immediately eligible of re-election either to the same post as or as delegates to the executive. Hindi sila, yun, si executive clemency pala, walang re-election, walang reappointment, ganun. I mean, re-election pala kasi election pala yung um, pag, pag ang nangyayari. And trivia lang ito. Si Johannes Cover is the first president of Interpol from 1923 to 1932. So, wala namang history is board exam, pero ano lang siya, good to know. Next is Julie R. Bulgarin, the first Filipino president of Interpol from 1890 to 1894. 4 years siyang naging president. Then next is the Merel Balestraze, the first female president of Interpol from 2012 to 2016. Yun, good to know lang siya, tandaan lang natin. Malay mo, nung sa board exam, pero sabi naman, wala daw personality sa board exam, walang history. Pero ano yun, ayun na, si Johannes Cover, Joey R. Bulgarin, Merel Balestrade. Next is the General Secretariat. The General Secretariat is based in Lyon, France, in the permanent administrative headquarters. It coordinates the international activities of member countries, holds a library of international criminal records, and organize regular meeting at which delegates can exchange information of police work. So, pag sinabing General Secretariat, place siya or yung headquarters siya na naka naka naka-base sa Lyon, France. Sa Lyon, France siya. Headquarters siya hindi sa person. Then the General Secretariat operates 24 a day, 365 days, and by the Secretary General. So 24 hours, 24/7, wala siyang rest day. Tuloy-tuloy siya. Why? Kasi crucial nga yung ano, yung function niya, yung responsibilities niya. Kasi siya yung ano, main focal point ng exchanging of information. The General Secretary has 7 regional offices across the world in Argentina, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, El Salvador, Kenya, Thailand, and Zimbabwe. along with special representative at United Nations in New York at the European Union in Brussels. Yes. Tapos dito sa headquarters, di ba? Headquarters siya. Pag sinabi natin headquarters, lahat ng mga lahat ng mga records daw nandun, criminal records, yung mga, yun, dun din nag-meet yung mga General Assembly, yung Executive Committee, dun sila nag-meet. Then, ito yung four official languages na ginagamit ng Interpol. Madali lang siya, safe, Spanish, Arabic, French, and English. Dahil yan sa tandaan, gusto sabihin acronym na SAFE. For the National Central Bureaus or NCB, the NCB is the designated contact point for the General Secretariat. Regional officers and other member countries requiring assistance with overseas investigations and locations and apprehension of fugitives. Each Interpol member country maintains a national central bureau staffed by national law enforcement officer. So, kung sinabi natin National Central Bureaus, quarters siya ng Interpol na which doon is nakikipag-communicate siya sa General Secretariat. Dito sa Philippines, matatagpuan yung NBD kasi member country tayo ng Interpol. So, matatagpuan natin siya sa Krame. May yung parang quarters doon na doon nagpapas yung or nagbibigay ng information or nagbibigay ng information si General Secretariat. Ay, nagbibigay ng general information. Nagbibigay ng information si General Secretariat sa quarters na yon, sa NCB na yon. Daig po, minaman pala o in-stop siya ng mga law enforcement officer. Next is the National Senate na the advisors. Tapos na tayo sa General Assembly, ay na General Assembly, Executive Committee, General Secretary, tsaka NCD. Proceed naman tayo sa advisor. These are expert in purely advisory capacity who may be appointed by the executive committee and confirmed by the General Assembly. So, yung nag-a-appoint dito is the executive committee, which is kailangan ng approval from the General Assembly. So, pag sabi ng advisors, di ba, common naman siya or general knowledge naman siya. Siya yung nagbibigay ng mga advice kung ano yung mga decision na dapat gawin, kung ano yung mga policy na, I mean, yan, mga policy na imi-made, siya yung parang siya yung utak kung paano mag-function yung organization. Then, the last one is the Commission for the Control of International Fights, Interpol Fights. This is an independent body whose mandate involves to ensure that the processing of personal information by the Interpol complies with the organization regulation to advise Interpol on any project operation, set of rules, or other matter involving the processing of personal information and to process requests concerning the information contained in Interpol files. So, si Commission for Control of International Files, simple lang siya. Siya yung nag-keep, nag-preserve ng mga files ng ng organization, yun lang. Pag merong mga kailangan na information, dun kukunin sa Commission for the Control of Interpol Files. Then, what is I-24/7? A network that enables investigator to access Interpol range criminal database. So, si I-24/7, isa siyang system, which ang nakaka-access lang nito is yung member countries na mga ano, mga investigators ng mga member countries. Kaya 24/7 kasi 24 hours 24 hours within 7 days, tama ba? Ganun. Parang hindi siya tumitigil, tuloy-tuloy siya, nag-work siya tuloy-tuloy. Then, this last part, the notices, international notices or the organization notices. First is the red notice to seek the arrest or provisional arrest of wanted person with view to extradition. So, pag is General Secretary, sa General Secretariat nag-send ng red notice sa NCB natin sa Philippines, ibig sabihin nun, nagsisik tayo ng arrest ng tao na po. Example, red notice, tapos yung information ng tao, sabihin nun, yun, arrest. Kailangan i-arrest. Next is the yellow notice. To help locate missing person, often minors, or to help identify persons who are unable to identify themselves. So, pag red notice daw, missing person. Red notice, tapos information ng tao na nawawala. Madali lang siya, guys. Pero, yun, nakakalito na pag I mean, nakakalito. Ako, dati personally, nalilito ako. Ang alam ko lang talaga, yung red, yellow, tapos yung violet. Nagugulan ako sa ibang color. Pag blue naman, collect additional information about the person identity or activities in relation to crime. So, pag nag-send ng blue notice, kailangan lang ng more information dun sa specific na tao, organization, or whatsoever. Ganun. Yung work, yung magiging function, magiging work ng pinustahan mo. Do not, like example, sa Pilipinas, nag-send ng kailangan ng more information sa gantong person, yun, kailangan nilang mag-investigate or mangalap ng mga information about dun sa organization or sa person na yun. Then for the black notice, to seek information on identified bodies. So pag black notice, di ba? Pag black notice, di ba, pag patay ka, mangingitim ka. Yun na lang ang paano natin na mga unidentified bodies. Kasi walang nakalagay na dead bodies, pero siguro patay naman siguro to kasi nga di mo ma-identify kung kaninong body to, kung kaninong bangkay to, ganun. Basta yun, pag nag-send ng black notice, tapos ganito, i-identify nyo, hanap kayo ng information para malaman o ma-identify nyo yung specific na tao na nakalagay doon sa information. Then, next is the orange notice. To warn police, public entities, and other international organizations about potential threats from wait from from this disguised weapon, parcel bombs, and other dangerous materials. So, eto si Orange Notice, warning sign siya. Pag sinundan ka ng orange notice na to, warning sign siya, tas yung things na magiging threat doon sa example, weapons, disguised weapons, parcel bombs, and yun. Um, siya, warning sign siya. Pag purple naman, provide information on modi operandi, procedure, objects, devices, and hiding places used by the criminal. So pag purple notice naman is nag-give siya ng information about mga modus operandi ng or mga mga the way kung paano gawin ng isang organization or isang specialist criminals or organization, paano nila ginagawa yung crime na kumukumit nila. Nagbibigay yung Interpol ng information na gano'n. Kung example, ganito sila gumawa ng crime, ganito yung mga galawan nila. Ganun yung nasa purple notice. For the green notice to provide warnings and criminal intelligence about persons who have committed criminal offenses and are likely to repeat these crimes in other countries. So, pag sinabi natin green notice, nagbibigay siya ng information and warnings and also intelligence dun sa tao na to na naniniwala sila na possibly kukumit siya ng crime na to sa other country. So, yun. For the Interpol United Nations Special Notice bago siya, issued for groups and individuals who are the targets of UN sanction against Al-Qaeda and Taliban. Based sa research ko, yung Al-Qaeda at Taliban, para siyang mga terrorist group, yun. Magbibigay ng information si General Secretariat about sa mga terrorist group na to. I believe yun yung bagong notice ng Interpol. Or, eto pala, sorry. Silver notice. Identification, tracing of criminal assets. Ay, hindi pala siya bago. Ito pala yung bago, yung silver. Yung international UN, hindi siya bago So, yun yung mga international terrorist group yung yung subject doon. Nagbibigay ng information si General Secretary sa mga yan, international terrorist group. So, silver notice, bago siya. Ito yung identification, tracing of criminal asset. So, pag sinabing pag nabigyan ka ng, nag-send ng silver notice, kailangan mong manghanap ng information or matrace mo yung mga criminal asset or kung sinabing criminal asset yung mga bagay to bagay na example mga shabu na tinago sa ganito, kailangan mo i-trace kung saan nila tinago yun. Yun yung silver notice. And yun lang. Sana na-gets nyo. Then, next, wala na. So, yun lang po. Thank you for listening. And again, I am Rosemary Galit. I hope na-explain ko siya ng kahit papaano and may nagets kayo. Thank you.